We're kicking off this Power BI Women's Summit with a fireside chat with Kaye and Rupali Jain. Rupali is a partner director and head of product for Power BI at Microsoft.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, whatever your time zone may be. Welcome to today's Fireside Chat for our first ever Power BI Women's Summit. My name is Kaye. I'm the Power BI Engagement Lead for the Power BI community, and today I am honoured to introduce a fantastic leader at Microsoft, Rupali Jain, who's the Power BI Head of Product. Good morning, Rupali. How are you today? Thank you for joining us, and how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. The honor is all mine. Thank you so much for having me. It's super fun to be part of the Power BI community and finding ways for us to connect, especially since we can't do this in person, which would have been way more fun. But again, I'm so looking forward to this conversation.
Me too. And, I'm sad, we can't do this in person, but really appreciate your time. And I think we're going to have a fun time today too. Okay, let's begin. How about we start with telling us a little bit about yourself? We'd love to know a little bit about you and your professional journey.
Sure. Yeah, my professional journey is not very linear. So I started as an engineer, switched to program management, and then I decided I wanted to be on a different continent. Actually, I should step back a little bit. So I grew up in India and came to the States to do my master's, mostly to get experience on a different continent in a different country. And then spent about 10 years here and then decided to go do my MBA in France, which was phenomenal. Such an experience learning from different people, the cultures, and just the diversity of opinions in the room was phenomenal. After that, I did strategy consulting for a little bit and then came back to tech. And that was my first time in enterprise tech, mostly because I couldn't get hired into consumer tech. So this was around 2011, 2012. And at the time, my MBA, my experience in consulting, and my experience at Microsoft, which all things that are awesome, really worked against me, since the focus in the industry was on hiring pure talent straight out of school, especially for consumer roles. But in enterprise, I found that my experience was valued. And that was the first time in my career that I really realized that I needed to play to my strengths. I then spent time at Box, Tableau, and Qualtrics, all startups in the hypergrowth phase, either pre-IPO or just after IPO. And startup may be a bit of a misnomer when a company is a few hundred people, but all growing so very fast. And it was during this time that I realized how self-service data analytics could change one's career. With data, I was able to get an understanding of the business that I was in and running. And at one point, I started sending biweekly emails to the team and to our leadership team with insights. One of my emails actually got forwarded to the CEO at the time, and that really accelerated my growth in the role. And it made me realize how important insights are. I've been hooked on data and analytics products ever since. So if I look at my career, I've spent over half of it now in data and analytics. And after that is when I came to Power BI.
Wow. Okay. That's just amazing. I mean, from India to the US, going to do your MBA in France, there's so much diversity of experience. It's fantastic. And it's great that you found a place in the enterprise, for your skills. That's fantastic. So, okay, tell me, you said, and that's how you came to Power BI. So what brought you to Power BI?
So many things. So I was at Qualtrics just before I came to Power BI. And in Qualtrics, I was the head of product for one of their businesses. And it was really interesting. I had made a statement to someone that I wanted to grow a business to become a $500 million business. And I realized at one point in 2020 that I was going to hit that milestone, never realizing ever in my life that I was going to hit it. So once I realized that, it forced the question on me of what's next? What was I going to do next? And there were lots of different options. I could have stayed at the company and continued to grow that business. But I felt like I had to look and see what else was out there and do something different. I tend to like discomfort and I tend to like new things, apparently. And so that's when I started having conversations with people. And Power BI happened to me similar to a lot of my previous roles, actually. I shared with a couple of trusted mentors that I was ready for a new challenge. I got introduced to Arun. I loved the team. I loved the conversation with Arun, his leadership style. I also loved how Power BI as a product had been growing and how the business had been growing, which I'd been watching on the sidelines. And it was such an exciting challenge and an opportunity for me to come back to Microsoft. I knew I would learn a lot. And given the focus that the Power BI team and the product has on usage, on community, these are things that are not common in enterprise SaaS. And so for me, I knew that I would be bringing some strengths to the table, as well as there were so many things for me to learn in the new role. And so that combination, along with the set of people, is what brought me here. At that point in time, I was looking at this role and one other, and they were both equally exciting. And the interesting thing is, what swung it for me was Arun's LT had several women on it, his leadership team. And so I knew there was support. It wasn't the only reason, like I talked about all the cool things happening with Power BI, but it did play a small part for me coming to this specific team in Power BI and joining the product team.
Wow, that's fantastic. I think one of the great things you just said was that you like discomfort, which is really, liking a challenge and learning new things, and it's all about growth, as a professional. So I love that about you, and I love that you came to Power BI, and of course you have joined the best team.
It is the best team. It is.
It is, and it's one of the great things that I love about Power BI, that we have so many women, and I know that Arun particularly has been a huge advocate for diversity and inclusion in his organisation. He's a great example of an ally and mentor for women. He's certainly helped so many people that I know of. And, when we talk about careers and women and, Power BI women externally or even internally at Microsoft, what kind of advice would you have to women who might be struggling in an organisation which maybe isn't as, I don't like to say isn't as supportive, but maybe hasn't evolved to that point? And, have you ever been in that situation? And if so, what sort of things, what strategies, what's helped you navigate your career and success?
Yeah. Yeah. The sad part is it happens. I've been there, and it's not fun when that happens. For me personally, my bias is to find a way to make the situation tenable or see if I'm learning enough to overcome the adversity to stick it out or find something different. Like, those are all options that I consider when something like that happens. The other thing that I've realized is it's not the organization that is not supportive, it's specific leaders, right? And they tend to amplify their impact, whether they're supportive. In Arun's case, he's incredibly supportive of this organization, and that impact is amplified in other organizations. When they're not supportive, that impact is also amplified. When I find myself in these situations, there are a few things I like to look at. One is I start with myself. I start by looking at communication styles, like what types of communication styles allow people in the organization to succeed. Because first and foremost, I find that one has to adapt to the communication style of the organization and what the leaders expect. And if I can adapt to that communication style, it takes away some of that level of discomfort or that level of unsupportedness that I'm feeling. It's not always the case. And so the second thing that I try and think about is like, great, how can I talk about my accomplishments and ask for what I deserve? And I give this advice to folks that I mentor as well, right? And this is where data comes in super handy, because I hate talking about myself. I hate this concept that is managing up. But at the end of the day, for folks to be successful, for me to represent my teams really well, I do have to share the outcomes and the results that the teams have achieved. And data is so handy here, because then I can take the focus away from I'm talking about myself and all the great things I've done, which is god awful because I'm so uncomfortable doing that. But I can just present the data. It's like, look, this is what the team did. This is what we achieved. This is what we started out to do. This is how we exceeded, or this is how we didn't exceed the goals. And so it makes it a factual conversation, which is much easier to have than a oh, we did this, we are awesome. It's just not my comfort zone. It again goes back to styles and goes back to communication styles to a certain degree. So that's two. It's like, don't hesitate to talk about accomplishments and ask for what you deserve. Another option is to look and see, find managers and leaders that are supportive, and find friends. You have to find a support system if you're in an organization that doesn't feel supportive, because it can get very isolating otherwise. At minimum, your friends, these leaders, your support system can be your sounding board as you vent. And more often than not, they can also help coach you or suggest strategies to help deal with and improve the situation. And finally, don't blame yourself. Don't let it get you down to the point of impacting your self-esteem or confidence. If the above strategies don't land you in a good spot, don't hesitate to find something new. Have confidence in yourself, have confidence that you're awesome and that you deserve better. So do the right thing for you.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. I love the first three things that you said. You know, you look at yourself, you see if there's, if it's a tenable situation, or, if I'm learning enough, maybe I can deal with it and, try to make a change kind of thing. Or else if it's not, leave. And then, finding friends, finding the right leaders who are supportive, be confident and, and believe in yourself, which I love. So all of these are great strategies. I think it's great advice for people who are growing their career. I think, if we move to kind of the everyday data, notifications, and, managing your workload on a day-to-day basis to get to that, successful point, we're seeing a lot of data, a lot of notifications, a lot of reporting alerts, What's a strategy that you've used to help focus on what is important at work and at home, especially for those who have, a work-life balance, family, and, maybe caregivers or other challenges?
Yeah. I'll share what works for me. And this one's different for each person I talk with based on what's important, what is the balance. Life has become so interrupt driven and it's crazy. I used to think that I'm good at multitasking and I realized I'm terrible at it. So what I've done is I basically turn off all notifications, everything except text messages. And I did this for the first time in 2012 and have never needed to turn them back on again. I can go to my email, I can go to chat and see what's happening. I'm not going to miss anything. And yeah, I might be a little bit late in answering an email or that chat message. And you know what? Turns out it's okay. Like, it's okay. People can wait for a few minutes. They can wait for a few hours for me to get to my email. Because it's so important to find that time to think, especially like for me, when I do my best work is when I think about it and don't just spew off something that's top of mind. And in COVID, especially, it has forced me to create much better boundaries. The thing that I've done for myself is, funnily enough, I started working out during COVID more to deal with the stress of work and maintaining balance. And so I do that in the mornings, and my 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock is pretty sacred. And so I give that up maybe once a month or so, but my team knows it, my managers know it, my team knows that I will decline meetings during that time. And I take my dog out for a walk. And it's one way for me to get outside, get a change of pace, and spend time with the dog. And, evenings, I try to shut down so my husband and I can spend some time together, because otherwise, with two people working, it's just so easy for our work life to blend into our home life. And that's the only thing we do. But that doesn't make me feel human. So I've realized I've had to carve out these, I don't know whether they're artificial boundaries, real boundaries, something, but I've had to do that.
Wow, Rupali, that's excellent advice. I love that you take time out during the day to kind of refresh your brain, have a break, as we used to do in the office sometimes when you go and get a cup of coffee or something like that. And the notifications, turning those off for people, it might not work for everybody, and maybe we need to choose which ones are important, but I think gone are the days of waiting for responses, and now most people are used to instant gratification. We don't necessarily need it, maybe only for an emergency. So thanks so much about talking about your career and success factors. I think we can maybe kind of switch gears a little bit more to the product side, since you're head of product. We've seen the kind of evolution of how we use data and how we can present valuable insights in Power BI. And for the business professionals who may not be using Power BI today, we see Power BI through other tools like Teams, for example. So if your organization uses Teams but doesn't use Power BI, particularly, but your company does have Power BI, well, no worries. Let's share the report on Microsoft Teams and give your stakeholders a taste of what their data can really, really look like and really shine. And so, we're keeping people in an experience that they're used to by staying in that one experience. What other areas do you see opportunities for Power BI to grow into?
Yeah, there's so much opportunity for Power BI. And it's phenomenal, right? Like, one of the reasons I came back to Microsoft is because there's so much opportunity for Microsoft in the analytics space. Let me start with Power BI specifically. Just continuing on the path that we've been on for a few years, driving usage, growth, and value to the end users. Kelly, you talked about Teams. Think also about Excel, PowerPoint, Dynamics. Wherever you are doing your work, how do we bring insights to you? How do we make it so easy for you to get that first level of, like, here's the basic data that you need to do your job so you can make better decisions? And balancing that end user value with enterprise needs for the organization, especially capabilities around big data, governance, security, which are so critical to enabling the end users get the insights they need so you can really make decisions at scale. Both of these remain true for us, and our investments continue to accrue to these teams. But if I think about expanding to Microsoft across analytics, we have an opportunity to create this incredible value for users and customers through one ecosystem of applications and a simple, cohesive story across the board. So our customers don't have to tie everything together with duct tape and chewing gum or having to write a ton of code. So that's where the opportunity lies. And that's how we make it incredibly easy to drive a data culture.
I love the duct tape and chewing gum, and I love seeing how we can see Power BI in other areas. And the most important thing is the insights, right? All of the business users now, have never before had an opportunity to drive their decision making through data. And it's just incredible how far we've come. It's fantastic. So thank you. I appreciate you saying that, because I feel like it's great for it all to come together. And, I might want to put you on the spot a little bit here. And, I've got to ask the $50 million question, which is, as the head of product, just before we're going up to Ignite, and I know we've got some big announcements coming up tomorrow, where do you see the product going?
I think I talked a little bit about, where the product is going and our balance of how do we really drive broad usage as well as create that framework for the enterprises to be really successful at scale. But let me give you a couple of examples of the things that touch me personally and the ones that I use a lot, right? So the Power BI Teams app, which has been in preview for a while, it's so massive because these days we spend so much of our time collaborating on Teams. And that's just where we are. And having Power BI accessible and the data accessible just one click away makes it that much easier for us to make decisions based on data. Another area for me that is really interesting that the team spent a ton of time on is the general availability of our Gen 2 platform, which we just announced a few days ago. We have higher performance, higher scalability. It auto-scales when you need that burst of capacity for that all-important report that people are going to open on Monday morning when they get into work. And they don't have to think about it. And my favorite is around goals, especially with tracking, updating goals, and creating goals to align the organization to be working on the same outcomes. I absolutely love goals. And the main reason for this is, if I think about data and I think about insights, data is not really useful unless you do something about it, unless someone takes action to move the needle on it. And goals for me is that way of taking action, of seeing what the outcomes are, of seeing where you are towards those outcomes and making a change to the business to drive to results. And that's why goals is so important. So lots of different investments. We could probably be here for a couple of hours talking about where the product's going. But this is just a taste of some of the cool things. And we'll talk a lot about this at Ignite coming up in the next couple of days as well.
Thank you, Rupali. Thank you for your insight there. It's going to be fantastic. I also agree with you in terms of teams and goals. They're definitely, our favorites here because it keeps you in that immersive experience. You don't have to leave to get all of your insights. And I'm really happy to hear that there'll be some growth in those areas. And, when our product grows, so does our community. And we've seen our community grow quite a bit. And, it's because of those innovations. So what are your thoughts on the Power BI community?
Oh, I don't know. I'm joking. The Power BI community is awesome. Everyone is so incredibly engaged, so there for each other. There's so much goodness in this community. As this community continues to grow, I want us to continue supporting each other more and more. People are making data-based decision-making part of their daily lives. And this community is so critical, such a foundation for helping everyone do that. And also, I love the community personally because it also gives us, the product team, feedback on what matters and how Power BI can continue contributing not only to your professional success, but also grow your careers and how we can help you grow with data as the foundation. So I just love the community.
Yes, absolutely. We know the Power BI team loves the community. Thank you for saying that. And we do listen to the community and build our products that way, of course. And with the expansion of the products that you just mentioned earlier, or the product areas you just mentioned earlier, the Power BI community grows as well because people join the community to ask questions, connect. They might join one of the user groups on our new user group platform. And, we've got some groups that do studies for the DA 100 certification for Power BI. We have just so much to offer. And I suppose we've kind of come full circle here at the Power BI Women Summit, haven't we? So, it's exciting times ahead. It's exciting times. So we're going to, I think we're just about out of time right now. Any final words or final thoughts for us to share?
As a community, keep engaging with us. Keep telling us what you need. Keep telling us how we can make you successful. And don't forget, each and every one of you is incredibly awesome. Have the confidence to take data and to grow your careers in the way you want to grow your careers. Have confidence that the right support system, whether it exists or not, that you can be successful. And it's so important that confidence is what's going to take you forward in life and in your career. So I wish you all success ahead. And I look forward to meeting you someday soon.
Thank you so much, Rupali. It's exciting times again. And speaking of exciting times, we are hiring. If you're thinking about joining the Power BI team at Microsoft, please go to aka.ms/Power BI jobs, where you can see all the latest job postings. And remember, check there regularly. And if you'd like to join our Power BI Women user group, please do so at aka.ms/Power BI Women. Thanks again for joining us today. Have a great summit.
Thanks, Kelly. This was wonderful. Keep doing what you do.
Thank you, Rupali, for joining us today at the Power BI Women Summit. And also, thank you for sharing your perspectives as a Power BI woman leader.